there's just so much hate. Like why be a hater when you can just like be open and be happy and enjoy life? Like if I can make one person smile a day, I did something right. Right? It's just doing those little things, because everyone's the hero of their own story. Everyone's the main character of their own story. So you don't know what someone else is going through. So like even just saying to someone like, hey, what's up? Like, hope you're having a good day. You don't know how far that can go.
Hi, Schmoozers. Welcome back to this week's episode of Schmoozing Time. For those of you that are new here, I'm David Cobby, and I'm on a mission to inspire Jews to be proud of their identity and leverage their personal brands. Before I introduce this week's guest, I'd love if everybody could take a minute to make sure that they're following Schmoozing Time on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We just added a YouTube account, so make sure we follow on there also. This ensures that you'll stay up to date and never stress about missing an episode. For those of you that want to learn about hard work and dedication and what it takes to make your dream come to life, this is an episode for you. Well, I've had a handful of guests on who work in or around the sports industry. I've yet to schmooze with someone who specifically helps athletes with monetizing their personal brands. This guy's only a few years out of college, yet he has already built his very own sports agency. Please welcome to the show the man responsible for helping athletes build something more than just their brand, Jake Teplitzky. Jake, how we doing, brother?
Doing good. I was, I appreciate the intro. It's a very, very kind words. But yeah, I mean, you said it, like, really out here, just a man with his dream, right? And it's crazy because never even thought that this is where I was going to be. So yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about what I'm doing and how I got here and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited to, get into the pod.
Absolutely, brother. And when Jake and I got on the phone first, I think we had to like stop each other because we started to have a podcast already, like on the phone. So this one might go over a little bit, but Jake, man, like I'm fucking pumped to have you on the podcast. Like you've obviously done a lot of amazing things with your brand, but also helping other athletes leverage their personal brands. And with a last name like Teplitzky, I think we got to go into, start things off. Obviously, we got to talk about your Jewish background. Like Teplitzky, I would imagine it's a very, no offense, but it's a very stereotypical Jewish last name. Like I would imagine you're Ashki. I don't want to make any more assumptions, but why don't you go ahead and start by telling us a little bit about your Jewish background, your upbringing, and why you are proud to be Jewish?
For sure. So yes, proud Ashkenaz, right? Personally, everyone, like my girlfriend, she thinks I'm part Sephardic somewhere along the line. I don't disagree because anywhere I go, like everyone starts speaking to me in whatever language. So I played the Ashkenaz role. I played a little Sephardic role. Once I grew the facial hair, it was up. Like everyone's like, okay, this guy's gotta be Sephardic. But yeah, so grew up in Connecticut, Jewish household, mom's Jewish, dad's Jewish. I have an older sister. We went to Jewish day school until I was in about second grade, and then switched over to like a college preparatory school that was K through 12. But really, Judaism is just a huge part of my identity, right? Where it doesn't necessarily define who I am, but it's a major part of who I am as a person, right? It's not just the religious aspect, but also the cultural aspect and, tzedakah and tikkun olam and all those important things. It was very, very strong in my household. My dad's he's a CPA with a JD in tax law, and my mom is a Jewish professional. She works in nonprofit development, and she was actually an executive director at JFNA, so Jewish Federations in North America. So was very involved, early on. I did a lot with the Anti-Defamation League. I was actually one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first teen trainers at ADL, which was teaching kids how to combat anti-Semitism. So that was a big aspect of who I was growing up. And then, of course, I did, BBYO. I was super involved in BBYO. Was on the regional board, was on my chapter board, all that good stuff. And then got to college, super involved at like Hillel, and really like for me, always been a proud Jew. But then, and of course, everyone could talk about it, but especially like after October 7th and prior to October 7th, I was in Israel in April of 23. So it was pretty, close together in time wise. But after that, that was when I really there was a whole bunch of stuff that kind of happened where so I was on a mission in Israel with the Federation down here in Miami, and it was crazy. So it was about maybe 2 weeks or a week after my grandfather had passed away, and he had grown up Orthodox, and my uncle had found his tefillin in when they were cleaning out, and he said to my mom, like, who wants this? And my mom was like, Jake will take it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So and my grandfather had never gone to Israel. Like, he never wanted to go because it was just so, he was eating like boiled chicken from Friday night to Saturday type vibe. So for me, I was like, okay, he never went, but I'm going to take the tefillin with me. I'm going to go rap at the wall. And it was crazy because this event gets wild. So it was the first day of the trip, right? Or maybe the first day, like after everyone got in, and I have no history. Like, I had some concussions, stuff like that, but no brain, anything like that. And everyone had already realized, because I also was with a group of people that I knew that, I like to mess around, like throw some jokes, this, that, the other. And we're walking down, we're in Jerusalem, and we're walking down right in front of Ben Yehuda Market on Friday, right?
Okay.
Busiest time. And I started to feel a tingle, right? Like almost like something tapped me on the top of my head and went down my body, and I couldn't speak. And I start this is what I was told. I start standing, I start clapping. This is what I remember, trying to get someone's attention. And I'm like, and my wrist locked in. And the last thing I remember saying was, I'm not joking, I'm not joking, I'm not joking. And it happened to be that my roommate on the trip saw what was going on and caught me, and I had a seizure. And I had no history of seizures, anything like that. And for me, when I came to all that, I was like, okay, that was my grandfather telling me he didn't want that at the wall. So I refer to that incident as the holy seizure. So that was one of those things where it was like, what? And then, of course, all the aftermath of dealing with, what that is. And I haven't had any other incidents since, anything like that. And for me, that was almost like divine intervention, because at the time I was also worried, while I was working on my business, I was also working at a marketing agency, and I was trying to do both. And after that, I was like, you got to be all in. That's it. There is no plan B. So for me, that was when I was like, okay, that was really when I was like, all right, this is it. And then fast forward to October 7th, right after that, was when I really started to rap. I rapped every day, excluding Saturdays, right? And there was a couple times, maybe here or there, where I did accidentally once, because I was still learning about what to do, what not to do.
Sure.
But once I started rapping, things really started to happen, in a good way, where things really started to pop off. And people always, give athletes a hard time sometimes when they're like, oh, they get preachy and they're like, all glory to God, all that stuff. But really, from what my experience, what is that there is, you give, for me, I wake up every morning after I do, Shema and I do a little personal meditation. I always say, Baruch Hashem, I'm so thankful, so grateful, so privileged, so lucky, so honored, so blessed to be living this life. And it's nothing's guaranteed.
Dude, you just said so much stuff there. I don't even know where to go now, man.
It's all right. Yeah.
Matt, don't apologize. Wow. I mean, first of all, before we get into the sports stuff, I want to go back to the Jewish stuff. But I mean, it's so amazing to hear kind of how your core values, your Jewish core values, have kind of built your business, which I think is amazing. And in a little bit we'll talk all about sports, but
yeah, of course.
I think just going back to your Jewish kind of upbringing and hearing about how October 7th made you want to fill in more. You talk about ADL, working at the ADL, and, you talk about various trips to Israel. I think there's something to be said about your commitment to Judaism, which I think a lot of people, like, let's be real, it's hard to be very committed to Judaism. And, especially like working at the ADL, like that's not the most like fun thing, right? Like you're literally defending anti-Semitism, and it's a job that nobody wants to do. And I think today it's so important, right? We talk about anti-Semitism and how it relates to Israel and all this stuff. But I think just from a strictly Jewish hate perspective, right? Working at the ADL, I'm sure, gave you a lot of valuable experience in learning how to deal with hate. So let me ask you, how do you encourage other people to deal with hate? Because I think there is absolutely a wrong way to go about it, but there's also a way where you can educate people and be civil about it. And I don't believe that like all hate comes from a bad place. I think a lot of hate comes from simply ignorance. So talk to me about how you learned to deal with hate from working with the ADL.
Well, first of all, that's a great question. And I mean, part of it comes with time and it comes with maturity, right? So unfortunately, I had to deal with anti-Semitism pretty early on, not necessarily outright, but the way that a lot of people dealt with it, or not dealt with it, but have encountered it was on Xbox. One time I was playing, I think I was in 6th grade, and my gamer tag at the time was a random DJ, and it was just because I used to DJ, right? And I was playing with one of my friends, and he invited one of his boys into the lobby. I couldn't hear him, and I guess one of them he said to him, "Oh, like who's a random DJ?" And then he's like, "Oh, you mean a random like dirty Jew?" And this is like in 6th grade, and I'm like, so right then I had to learn how to go about it, right? And between the ADL and then I interned at this place at the IDC in Herzliya for a summer, Hack.il, which was specifically about, it was an Israeli advocacy group that was dealing with misinformation that was being put out online, and seeing what really it was, where like there would be a clip from like the Final Destination movie, and people would be like, this is what Israelis are doing to like Palestinians, or this is what they're doing in Gaza. And it's like, you literally Google reverse image search and it shows that it's from a movie. So like there's stuff like that. And really it's challenging. And because the thing with dealing with, or not even dealing with, but combating anti-Semitism is that it's just like anything else in life. You can't help people that don't want to be helped. It's really challenging to see, especially now that there is so much hate in 2024, about to be 2025, that we're still dealing with this, right? They said, Hashem said, we're the chosen people. He never said for what, right? But that's part of what also keeps us going as a people. And everyone's like, oh, how are Jews like doing this successfully, that successfully? Because we know how to pick ourselves back up after we get knocked down. And that's like one of the biggest things, even like in life and business, whatever it is. What defines a winner or defines success is not about the failures, right? Because you're learning. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up and you keep pushing forward. Because if you don't, nothing's going to change. No one's going to do it for you, right? Even when I have like hard days, it's like you get up and you go do it. You do it tired. You do it weak. You do it whatever way you fight, you claw, whatever it is to get to where you want to be. You have to go do it. And it's really funny. I like just how timing works. I was watching this thing today about Kai Cenat talking about his relationship to God, right?
Sure.
And one of the things that I've realized, and I completely agree with him, is like when you're praying for something, when you want something, you have to go halfway. You have to put in the work. It's like the old adage of, oh, there was a flood and the guy's on the roof and he's like, oh, the first comes like a boat, and he says, no, Hashem's got me. He's like, he's got me. Then a helicopter, and then he's like, no, Hashem's got me. And then another like hurricane comes or whatever, and then he's up in heaven, he's talking to a guy. He says, "But why didn't you come and help me? Why didn't you save me?" And he says, "What are you talking about? I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. I sent all these things, but you didn't do anything about it." So it's embracing those blessings. And it's really, it's crazy. Just like looking at the parallels of, values and stories and seeing how they really play into, daily life.
Yeah. Jeez, man. I'm fired up, man. Like, I don't know about you. Like, I could tell, like, there's not a lot of people out there that I think match my like level of intensity and hard work and dedication. And I could tell, like, you're so fucking passionate
Appreciate
about
it.
what you do. Like, I admire people that are very passionate about what they do, which is why I'm doing this podcast, right? There's nobody out there that's doing this podcast like me, because I'm more passionate than everybody else about it. And I feel like you're kind of in the same boat. Like, you are more passionate about what you want to do with your brand and your agency. And it's just like, it amazes me. Like, we're already having a phenomenal conversation. Everything you say is meaningful. You're a very vulnerable guy. Like, I can already tell all these things about you. So I got to ask you, where did you develop all this from? Like, where does the passion come from? Where does the hard work come from? Because, like, let's be honest, man, like, a lot of our generation, they're lazy fucks, right? Like, you get the, I mean, like, you talk about, I mean, you could probably speak to this more, but like, these fake entrepreneurs that are like saying, "Oh, I'm making $1 million on my ass day trading stocks. Oh, I'm making $1 million doing drop shipping," like whatever. Like, there's a bunch of like scammers out there, people that like do lazy things to get results. But I feel like you're kind of the opposite, where like you'd rather do the work and not necessarily get the reward. So tell me about like how you develop this work ethic and your personality.
For sure. Well, a lot of it stems from my parents. And again, when I rap every day, I say that I'm so thankful and so lucky that I've had such amazing role models to teach me how to have work ethic and how to love properly and how to have, ruach and chutzpah, right? The better, and then really how to be a mensch, right? Like that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And, it's funny. This was, again, when I was one of my first engagements with like one of my first NFL players. And I was talking to him in the car on our way up, and it's one of my Instagram captions. I said, "If you doubted me when I was growing my grapes, don't ask me to pour you some wine." And it's just one of those things where it sounds kind of cliche, but it's really not. It's you stay down until you come up, right? And of course, it's working to get to a point, but it's one of those things. Like, and again, it's so funny just how Instagram works with it, where it says like one of those like motivational like posts where it was everyone wants to live like Scarface, but no one wants to start off like him. And everyone in our generation wants to get to point Z. And I can attest that at one point I was like that, where it's like, okay, you want to see the results now because everything's so immediate. But if you're able to have that delayed gratification and understand that Rome wasn't built in a day, right? That you have to consistently be consistent and put in the work and put in the hours, you're going to get to where you want to go. Because the one sure way not to get there is by stopping. So if you keep compounding that interest, you keep working, the best example of that is, if you go to the gym, right? You put in the work, you see the development happen. It's harder when it's something more abstract because you don't see it tangibly, right? But going back to the initial question, it really does stem from my parents. My dad put in a lot of long hours, like during tax season, he would be out of the house by 6 a.m. and he would come home at 8 at night. So there was like seasons when my dad would show up for the things that mattered. He would be at my games. He would be at, like, if I was in a performance or something, he would be there, and he was there when it mattered. But he showed me what it took to get to where you want to be, right? And my mom, of how committed she is and how passionate she is about the work that she does. I think I got very lucky where I had two worlds that kind of merged together in one household, and it allowed for me to mirror or take those good parts, right? Because again, there are certain habits that come with familiar, like hereditary stuff, but you're able to change those things, right? And a part of the challenge for me is that it's not what I do is not a 9 to 5 job. So like there's times when I'm taking a phone call at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. There's times when I'm on a call at 6:30 in the morning. It really depends. There's one time, like if I am working with a brand that's based in Australia, like I would be up at 4 in the morning. So that like making sure that they're up, like, cause trying to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Like it's not the norm, but I never wanted the norm. I never wanted to sit at a desk and just be like, okay, collect a paycheck, go home, do it all over again. For me, it's each day brings something different, which is like so exciting. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, the passion part is what really keeps me going, because I have a vision of what I want TMG to be, right? I have a vision of what the future looks like. And I say all the time, I go, I don't think, like, it's beyond living a dream, because I could have never dreamt something like this. And of course, there are the dog days when I'm like, I'm down and I'm out, but God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers. So it's like, you know, when you get knocked down 9, you get back up 10, right? It's all those type of things where you just can't stay down. Like, if you have that kind of dog mentality, and people are like, yo, Jake, how do you have that dog mentality? Like, it's not like you came out the mud. And it's like, well, it's a little different, because everyone lives a different life, right? For me, the biggest reason why I was so connected to the athletes when I was in school was because I saw that they wanted more for themselves. And again, University of Miami is a great place, but it's a lot of people that are like, okay, I can just kick my feet up. Like, I don't have to worry about anything. I can go work this, that. I can, family stuff. And again, no shots. I love you. I'm like, yeah, that's my alma mater for undergrad and grad. Like, those are my people. Yep. But you see it in their eyes, right? You see the difference, where I saw, like, with my friends that were student athletes, like, they wanted more. They wanted, like, they're not just putting in work in the classroom. They're putting work in on the field. They've got personal life, social life, academics, athletics, family stuff, taking care of other people. Like, it's just so much. And you think about it, you got to grow up quick then. And that's when really everything clicks for me. I'm like, someone's got, like, because everyone's like, oh, athletes are big guys. They're just like everyone else. It's just that people think that they're not. So in reality, and it's an oxymoron, but it's like, sometimes the big guy's the little guy. Like, they can be the biggest dog on the field, but when they're in the classroom, they might be shy. They might be quiet, because that's not their arena, so to speak. And for me, it was really funny, right beyond asking the questions in class, when I really started to, like, lock in with a lot of my friends. And it's funny because a lot of them didn't end up signing with me, we'll get into that later. But what it was all the student athletes would sit together in class, like all of them. Like, they would go into the corner of the room and they would all sit together. And I said, okay. I'm like, they're not having a real like college experience. They live amongst themselves. So one day I decided to sit right in the middle of all of them, and they're looking at me like, who's this white boy right here? Like, just sitting with us. They're like, what's up? I go, what's up? And they're like, okay. Like, okay. Like, and then we started to build a rapport. And really, for me, it was about building the relationship. It wasn't looking at ulterior motive of trying to do this, that, the other. I was just trying to help people win. Yeah, it's just, again, like, if you do the right thing for the right reason, everything else will fall into place. But you got to put in the work, of course.
Yeah. Nah. First of all, you got some serious balls to go sit in the middle of athletes in a class and try and break up their clique. But man, we got so much more to talk about. Like, this might go on for 4 hours. No, I'm kidding. One thing that I'm curious about is, you mentioned you were working a marketing job to basically fund your side hustle of creating TMG. So, I think that's a position that a lot of us are in right now. And maybe not a lot of us, but this whole 9-to-5 culture, I think it's switching big time. I'd be very surprised if, by 2035, right, if there's the same number of people that are working 9-to-5s that there are today, because of social media and because of personal branding, you're able to monetize off your brand, which I think is amazing. That's why I'm doing this podcast. And I think it's remarkable how you started a business while working a 9 to 5. I love talking to people that have this same hustle where they have a goal in mind, right? They're not fully there yet, but they're doing it on the side in addition to work. So how did you go about starting TMG while working a typical 9 to 5?
So it's kind of a crazy story, honestly, because I started TMG before I was working, like before I even had a job. Like I was still in college. So it was about 2019. So about 2 years before all this NIL stuff was on the forefront of everyone's mind, when everyone said, "Hey, let me go get after these kids when the money's hot," right? So we had the foresight to do that, and I kept saying to myself, "I need time to build this. I need time to build this. I need time to build this." 2020 happens, COVID happens, gave me the time to build it, right? If that's not something, like looking back on it, if that's not a message, I don't know what is, right?
Right.
So took a full year to do the R&D, really like the brand development, putting together my advisory board, which is a group of 6 individuals who collectively have over 100+ years of experience in sports marketing, financial literacy and industry, former NBA players, like all these people that could put me on game. Because at the time, like, I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't intern at any sports agencies. No, the closest thing I had to a sports internship was actually at the ADL, where I wrote the curriculum for their it's their sports leadership council, which was like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Serena Williams, like I think Robert Kraft was involved, like big people. And basically that playbook that I wrote was how to leverage sports to engage the community, because in reality, sports is a microcosm of what's happening in real life, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're able to bridge that gap, it's a huge win. But so I did that, and then after I graduated in 2020, I started to do my master's online. I was running my business, like building my business. Then I went back to school in person, because this is now then post-COVID, and I'm like, I can't do this online bullshit. Like, I need to be in person. And then it was, continuing to build, continuing to do that while I was in grad school. Then I was out of grad school, working on TMG, and then it was, okay, needed to go out and get a side hustle to support the main hustle, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I looked at having that 9 to 5 as a side hustle, which was like, people are like, so for me, like, TMG was it. And I felt as if when I was working that the quote unquote side hustle, right, that I lost a piece of myself. Right. I would come home. I hated, like, I was just like, I'd wake up. I'm like, I have to go into the office again, like this bullshit. Like, I hated it. Right. Yeah. And I don't hate a lot of things. I did not like work, especially when I felt as if my voice wasn't being heard. Mm-hmm. And because it was very challenging. Like, it was a marketing agency that did a lot of work with like high net worth individuals, like things like that, where they would be like, okay, we need a player from New York to be on the cover of our magazine this month. Who's it going to be? I'd throw out a name. It would be a young guy who ended up being, a rookie of the year candidate. And they're like, nah, he's not it. And then the final straw, beyond having the Seizure, of course, because I used that to say, hey, like, this is, and it worked out well, because I'm like, guys, like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to be in and out, like, with doctors, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So everything worked out well. But, like, to not have, and then, because I pitched the name when they were looking for like a musical artist, and they're like, no, who's that? And then a couple weeks later, when they were struggling to find a cover person, they're like, oh, what about so-and-so? Who's that? And I'm just like, I pitched that like 2 months ago. So it's just like those kinds of things. But really, it's hard because it's a risk. But at the end of the day, I looked at it as, and this is one of the great things about starting early and starting young, that like your early 20s, like 18 to like 20, whatever, until you're married, until you have someone or something that you're responsible for, let's go out and take that risk. Like I for me, like one of the biggest things, I never want to be the saying, oh, what if, right? I want to know that I left everything out there. I gave it my all. And I said, you know what? Like, I fucking went for it. And if it works, great. If it didn't, like, but it's working, right? And I know that, and it's a journey. It's never a final destination, because if you're like, okay, this is when I know I made it, like, you can have that, haha, I made it moment. But if that's all you're striving for, once you hit that, it's very hard to set a new goal. So it's always like just making sure you keep one foot after the other. But I had a lot of people call me crazy. They're like, Jake, why didn't you go to another agency and get some experience and then start? I go, well, if I went to another agency, I wouldn't have had, well, one, I wouldn't have the balls to do it because you would have gotten too comfortable. And two, people look at you as saying, okay, you're trying to siphon from someone else. So when people are like, yo, I jumped in the deep end, head, like not even feet first, head first. I say, okay, like, fuck it, we ball. Like, I just went for it. And again, there was growing pains. There was a lot of learning, a lot of things that I've learned more as an entrepreneur and building my own business that I not ever had, but it's different because you wouldn't get those kinds of experiences and lessons unless you're in the driver's seat, right? And that's part of even with my interns. Like, I bring in interns and I give them hands-on projects, not just doing, Excel spreadsheets, this, that, the other. Right. I say, hey, this is a brand we're looking to align with. I want you to come up with a campaign concept so that way you can put on your resume that you pitched to this brand a concept. And if it lands, you say, that was mine. Basically, I'm trying to give people the latitude to be able to go out. Because now you look at any job description, you need 5 years of experience. Fucking good, 5 years of experience coming out of college. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, the math doesn't math. And everyone's like, oh, no one wants. It's like, well, first of all, like, people aren't hiring. And then it's like, okay, people aren't hiring and you don't have enough experience. It's like, how are you supposed to win? Like, my whole thing is like, It's better to eat with others than to sit in a table alone starving. And it took me a while to get there. But once I got that mentality of, hey, it takes a village. That's when stuff really started to pop off. Like, I went from having, some softball players and volleyball players and like a couple like Ivy League guys. And one day I got 3 NFL starters and like a handful of NCAA Power 5 guys because of the relationships I built and people trust me, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like the only thing you have is your word and integrity. And like, that's it. Like, I don't break that for anyone. So that's a big thing, especially in sports where it's very easy to, just not throw someone under the bus, but be like, okay, like, I'm going to step on someone else so I can get ahead. That's not me. And maybe it's like the fact that, like, I don't know, because like there was a lot of leadership stuff when I was growing up. Like, my mom, like my parents, like, didn't preach it, but leadership was a big thing in our household. And for me, it's always about not, getting to the top of the mountain and looking down at all the people that I stepped on to get there. It's getting to the top of the mountain and putting a hand back down to help people come up. Right. And for me, I really look at myself in this space as J. Cole said, like the middle child, because I play that role where I'm young enough where I still connect with the athletes as they're coming up. But I'm old enough where I can have the conversations with the old heads who are, have been in the game for like 20, 30 years. And for the athletes, they look at me kind of like, I mean, again, I don't want to speak for them, but I really see it as kind of like a big bro role where I get phone calls from guys being like, Jake, like, our finance guy's telling me not to do this. I want to do this. What do I do? And I say, hey, you know what? It's your money. Just understand that with like grown man decisions comes grown man responsibilities, and giving them the ability to do that, because you need someone to help you along the way. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but like you don't know how to do anything unless you try. And it's like, you're not going to be great at everything you do, like the first off rip. So it's like, it's about practice. And that's what a lot of these people say failures, but it's practice, because when you get to that point, you're ready. And I think that's one of the big things too about like even just being confident is real confidence is not diminishing or taking away from someone else. It's not saying, oh, I want to see someone else fail. You say, okay, that's fine, but I'm gonna go do me, and like I'm gonna be happy with that. And that's really how I go about my business. I'm like, hey, I'm fine with more people like at the table as long as you let me play nice in the sandbox too. Like, if you're not stepping on my toes, I don't mind.
Your thinking and your thought process and just everything that you're saying is really resonating with me. And I mean, I have no doubt in my mind, like, that you're going to continue to be successful, and make sense how you're already successful. And going back to one thing that you said, though, you talked about this idea of trust, right? Your trust, right? The relationships that you build with people, that trust, that's really the only thing we have in life if you think about it, right? Like, there is no way in hell you get shit done without trust from other people, right? Like, I'm somebody that likes to consider myself very independent, and I like to do shit on my own. But I've learned very, very quickly that there's not a lot of things that I can do on my own. Like, I mean, for one, like this podcast, right? Like, I'm trying to grow this podcast, and like, it's fucking hard. Like, growing a podcast is absolutely rigorous, and it's hard. There's so much competition out there. So I took it upon me to go get a mentor, right? And that mentor starting to help me a lot. And just like asking other people ideas, like that has helped me so much. But then this idea of trust is also so important to personal branding, because your brand is only as good as what other people say it is, right? Talk about, all these people that are very egotistical and say they're this or that, or they're on this pedestal, whatever. Like, it's so easy to get into that realm and say, oh, I'm this and that, oh, whatever. But I think with you, right, with what you're doing with TMG and athletes, right, you are helping them build something more than a brand, right? I want you to talk about what that means.
Yeah, well, for me, it's never about the flex, right? It's never about going out and flexing things, because in my opinion, if you can walk in a room and you're confident, that is the flex. Like, I don't need to tell people what I'm doing. I don't need people pocket watching me. I don't need to be, and again, there's no disrespect to people that are going on LinkedIn, doing like whatever, this, that, the other. But for me, I like my privacy, right? And especially it's hard with all this social media where it's like everyone's showing their highlights, right? No one shows the hard times. No one shows that, because people are scared to be vulnerable, right?
Yep.
And that's one of those big things for me where I learned pretty early, especially with sports, you got to check your ego at the door. Because if you're soft, like if you got soft, like, and I'm not like growing up, I was like a little sensitive, a little more sensitive, all this stuff. But I got checked. I got checked when I was in college. I got checked when I'm like, okay, like, all right, bet, like that's what it is. I mean, it was also kind of helpful, like prior to all this, when I was growing, like I was training to go to the MMA when I was when I was young. So like I was wrestling on my high school's wrestling team when I was like in 6th grade. So like for me, I was doing jujitsu, like all this stuff. So I always knew I could hold my own. But the thing is that people now, and this goes back to what you're saying about, the quick, easy outs, right? If it's quick, it's not going to last. Like you do it right, you do it light. You do it wrong, you do it long. And for me, I'm like, okay, it's all about doing this the right way. And I don't need people doing what I'm doing, because I've really built a lane. I've found my niche, and like it works, like where I'm not I'm competing only against myself. Like I see other people doing stuff, and yeah, there's times when it's like, damn, like why am I not like that? But it's also like, you know what? Hey, they've got their stuff going on. I'm gonna get mine. I used to tell all my friends that are now, like in the NFL, I used to say to them, like, I'll meet you at the top. Like verbatim. I used to say, I'm like, they're like, Jake, like, what do I do? This, that, the other. I'm like, yo, like, guys, this is my opinion. I'm not experienced enough to really tell you exactly what to do, but this is what I would do. And really, it's an insecurity thing too. And it's not to say that people post because of that, but especially it depends on what industry and all of these different kinds of things. But I know who I am at the end of the day. And I think that also kind of goes into what you're saying about, like, and I appreciate all the kind words, but like being beyond years, things like that. Like, again, read something today on social media. A man could be a man at 23. You can meet a 23-year-old man, but you can also meet a 35-year-old boy, right? So it's like one of those things where it depends on your life experiences. It depends on, your ability to see differences in culture and want to learn about other things. But if you're so committed about impressing other people more so than you are about impressing yourself and like being proud of yourself, that's something that, that's an internal struggle. But for me, I let the work speak for itself. And
absolutely,
I don't need the humble brags. I don't need to do this, that, the other. It's, I used to, it was really funny, like freshman year of college, I used to say to people, because everyone's like, yo, I need a wingman, this, that, the other. I go, yo, I want to see people throw layups. I mean, not layups. I want to see lobs. I don't want to see blocks. Like, I want to see people throwing up lobs to each other, be like, yo, let me like yam that, opposed to people being like, no, that's no, if I can't have it, you can't have it. Like, I want to see people win, bro. Like, there's so much, And this even goes back to the conversation about like anti-Semitism. There's just so much hate. Like why be a hater when you can just like be open and be happy and enjoy life? Like everyone, like my thing used to be in college, if I can make one person smile a day, I did something right. Right? It's just doing those little things, because everyone's the hero of their own story. Everyone's the main character of their own story. So you don't know what someone else is going through. So like even just saying to someone like, hey, what's up? Like, hope you're having a good day. You don't know how far that can go. So like some people are like, you know, I used to be like, I react to a lot of stuff on Instagram, like when my friends post stuff, things like that, which in reality drives engagement, which is good in the long run.
Sure.
But I'm like here for it. I'm here to be, you know, like, I'm not gonna say cheerleader because that's not the right word, but like, yeah, like I'm a supporter where I'm like, yo, like you go fuck shit up, like go get it, like, you know, because everyone just wants to see everyone else lose. You know, it's so funny. Like I'll go on like, and it just goes back to Instagram. I see how many people like view a story or something like that, or I see how many people have seen a post and see how many people like it, right? And it's one of those things where it's like the numbers don't necessarily match, and you're like, okay, like I'm good with it, because I don't associate likes to I don't associate likes to value anymore. It's even like with brand deals and stuff like that. Of course, numbers play a factor in terms of determining value, but for me, numbers are arbitrary. Like if you can get someone to feel something, right? Like what we're doing now, like I used to want to be a motivational speaker, but I always said you need to do something before you can be a motivational speaker, right? Yeah. It's if you get people to feel, that is what makes the difference, because numbers are just numbers. It's just data sets. It's just, you know, value. It's going beyond what it could be. It's like you have to see what something can be. And that's hard for people. Some people lack imagination, you know? Sure. And sorry, we might go over on this one.
Listen, man, I got all, the only thing that I need to get off for is Thursday Night Football, because I gotta watch the Packers and the Lions. I'm a big Vikings fan.
Our dog, my guy Kirby Joseph, who's the CP on the Lions, so he's got a big night tonight. Because we need that one more pick. You know, if he gets one more pick, it's like it's.
He's got too many. What is he at? He has got like 9
7
now.
Right? He's at seven right now. Well, his claim to fame. Oh, not claim to fame. He's like this season he's been amazing. But one of the coolest things is he used to carry around. He was the last guy. He picked off Aaron Rodgers' last throw as a Green Bay Packer.
No. Oh my God. Wait, I remember that. It was the game. Sorry to interrupt, but it was the game that the Lions knocked out the Packers from playoff contention. I remember this. This was awesome.
Yeah. So Kirby, he's a character, but you know, he's someone who he appreciates what he has and what he does. And again,
absolutely,
if you have that level of appreciation, you'll be all right.
Absolutely. All right, Jake, enough fucking around. I'm going to ask you some hard questions now. So
let's do it.
I think a lot of people out there think that athletes have it so easy, right? And there's an argument to be made, right? That athletes are so marketable. They are very marketable. They have a big stage, they have a big name, they're very personable, all this shit, right? So like athletes, right, by this idea, athletes have it easy, right? But for you to come in, right, and have your business, by definition, there has to be a problem that you're solving, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, we talk about this idea of personal branding, and you know, it's easier for athletes to monetize off their brand because of what they do. So let me ask you this: why is there a need for you if it's so easy for athletes to monetize off their brand and, you know, get all these huge endorsement deals in college, and, you know, you talk about just the NFL is another whole level. Why is there a need for you?
So it's really interesting, right? Like I said, I kind of saw what was coming before it was there. And I've had a tendency for that, seeing brands that I'm like, okay, this is going to pop. Let's just give it time. And I was like chubby shorts I was wearing in high school, and people were like, wow. Oh, like whatever. And they're like, yo, you can't believe you're wearing short shorts, blah, blah, blah. And look at them now, right? And it's just like, it's just some of those things. But really for me, what I saw as the big challenge was providing security, right? What I did, like, and I still kind of do, is provide a different type of security, because between having the like kind of financial literacy background and understanding how to not only, it's not about getting rich, it's about being wealthy, right? And I think this also goes back to even people, broadcasting everything that goes on. Wealth whispers. You don't need to show anyone anything. And not everyone has that modeled or understands what that is. So what it was for me was I saw the issue with what was going to happen with that NCAA, which I actually proposed an idea prior to the change in rules about name, image, and likeness, where we actually came up with a concept called a justified athletic trust, which essentially was a blind trust, which would allow for all revenue generated from NIL deals to be put into a blind trust that would have distribution basically either a set amount or when they graduate or when they declare for the pros. So really keeping a separation of church and state. The NCAA didn't like that. They were like, oh, no, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine. So really it was trying to help, the starting point. Just like, when you first started podcasting, like you just got on and you're probably like, yeah, like I'm just going to do this, right? For a lot of these student athletes and professional athletes, like I said before, they're dealing with all this other shit. So it's like, how do you hone it in onto one thing? And that's where really I've been able to develop my niche and my niche, is that I focus on sponsorships, engagements, and endorsements. So basically, like all that extra money, right, beyond like a collective, which is, is paying like student athletes or your salary. If you want additional money, I'm bringing opportunities. It's like, okay, like, what do you got for me? I'm not coming and trying to take something away. I'm trying to give something to you. Right. And I think that's a different perspective that a lot of athletes in general aren't used to, because everyone's usually coming, especially when you make it, they're looking for a handout. I'm the guy that would say, nah, dude, think about what you're doing. You don't need to pay someone that. Like even the other day, my girlfriend was asking me about, okay, like say if a player like wants to buy his mom a house, how do you go about that? Well, I go, first of all, personally, what I would do is you set up an LLC, you put the house in the LLC, so that way it's owned by the LLC and not putting the name in your parents' name. So that way they don't have to pay the taxes on that house, because it's one thing to buy a house and give someone a house. It's another thing to maintain it, right? Yeah. So it's having the know-how of how to manipulate and maneuver in this system. I look at sports as just like anything else. It's another industry. People are like, Jake, you must love sports. I'm like, I enjoy sports, but like, do I like my boys know, rattle off stats, this, that, the other. Like, Jake, so-and-so is doing this. I'm like, who? They're like, yo, he's a professional. I'm like, dude, I care about my clients. Like, I know like what's going on, but like, and so I think that's one of the things that also kind of keeps me in the space, is that I look at this as part of what I do. Again, I'm passionate about it, but I'm passionate because of my why. My why has always been about helping people. And it just happens to be that's through sports. And so going back to why they need someone like me is you need someone who's not just looking at you as an asset, and it's not to say like I keep it professional, but I'm also, like I'm there if they need a phone call beyond talking to the rest of the management team or talking to their agent, like, because again, I can shoot the shit as the day is long, but it's also like just being able to have the real conversations, right? Where like a lot of these NFL players are like one of my older clients is like my age. And then other clients are like 23, 22, 18. Like, imagine if you just like, who is it? Like talking about like Anthony Edwards, because, especially if you like watch Starting Five, dude's a kid. He's a kid, and like people are like, and it's not to say like disrespectfully, it's not like that at all, but it's like there's maturity that comes with time. And you have to understand, like, just because there's food in the fridge doesn't mean you have to eat, right? So it's like just because that something's there, it doesn't mean you have to take it. And that's one of those big things too, because when I first started, I would tell my boys, like my friends, they're like, yo, Jake, like someone's offering me 50 grand. What do? I go, well, first see what comes with that 50 grand. Understand who that 50 grand is coming from. Because one, you don't like, once you sign to like something, you're locked in. Like, it's a legal document. So you have to understand what you're signing on for. And then the other side of it is, hey, if someone's willing to pay you 50, there could be someone else who's willing to pay you more. So it's not necessarily saying you have to take the first opportunity when it comes in, but you have to understand what that opportunity means.
Dude, it's so funny because like you think like, okay, you don't have your JD, you don't really have a background in finance, and you're saying shit that like people in both those professions like don't even talk about publicly, which I think is amazing. And for an athlete, right? I think you bring up a great point. Like, Anthony Edwards, my guy. Like, I love Ant Eddie. He's like, huge Wolves fan. Like, he's gonna have an amazing career.
Oh yeah, he's him. He's the next face of the league for sure.
He is him. He like the lights and cameras, like all the distractions and shit. Like, it's hard for an athlete to deal with that, right? But then for somebody like you, it creates opportunity, which I think is amazing. That it's like you are making money off your clients, right? It's a business. That's what you got to do. But your direction and your purpose is not to do that. It's to genuinely help them, which I think in a world like sports that can get very, very corrupt very quickly, like your messaging is I haven't seen, too many agencies that have that same message. So, especially for somebody like you, 27 years old, fresh out of college, all this shit, to like be saying this stuff is amazing. And I think it's really telling about who you are as a person and how you promote yourself, which I think is the way that you hold yourself, the way that, you come in with a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge, right? Being 27 and knowing all this stuff, like the whole LLC and the house thing. Like, to be honest, I didn't know that. Like, I work in finance. Like, that's something I should probably fucking know. But like, I didn't know that. You learn something new every day. But just the way that you present yourself is amazing, right? Like,
I appreciate that.
Like, dude, like, honestly, like, you are presenting yourself as if you are a professional, but it's like nobody would think that you're 27 years old the way that you're talking about yourself. I know we talked about athletes' personal brands and how, you're helping match them with brands and the whole relationship aspect of it, and how, athletes have this once in a lifetime opportunity to monetize off their name, image, and likeness, which is, we didn't even like go scratch the surface on that conversation.
We can do that we'll do that another pod.
That's another episode. That's another episode. But for you, Jake, your personal brand, like, what do you think stands out? Like, I mentioned all these things, but to you, what stands out about your personal brand?
I mean, I think I'm real, and I think that's I'm authentic. Like, I don't change who I am for anyone. Any room that I'm in, I'm the same person, and
Absolutely.
like, I'll switch up like that. And like, even going back to what you're saying, like, in a way, yes, of course, with what we're doing, it's like I'm providing a service for the athlete, but again, we're eating together. It's not that I'm taking food off the plate, right? Like, I'm bringing something, I'm adding value, and that's really part of my brand. Is I don't want to come in and just siphon or be a leech or anything like that. That's just, getting by because of someone else's efforts. I want to know, and this really comes down to, like, it's been like a fundamental part, like, of my core of who I am. I want to know that I earned it. I want to know that I did it myself. Like, you can say whatever you want, all this stuff. Like, at the end of the day, like, I know where I am now. I did this. And, it's just one of those things where, like, it's very, very genuine and very, like, tangible. Even it's a tangible, untangible. Like, I'm like, I know where I am now. Like, I feel like I'm in the driver's seat, that I'm in control of my own life, and it's no one else is dictating that story. Of course, there are other factors. Like, I can't control everything, but the choices I make and the moves that I make are mine, that I choose to make. Right? I'm not being dictated by someone else's agenda. That's why I don't have any business partners, because I know what's going to allow me to sleep at night. And I already don't sleep well, so I need to be able to sleep at night, right? So it's like making sure that I'm good with who I am. And again, it goes back to knowing who you are. Like, I'm like I said, I'm real. And there's not a lot of real people out there, because just like what you were saying about how athletes get, people are like, oh my gosh, they're so great, this, that, the other. And of course, there's room for that. But just like how I used to get checked about things, I check I check the athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to even sitting in the classroom, right? When they would be like, yo, who are you? I'm like, yo, bro, who are you? Like, what? And they're like, because as soon as you treat an athlete like a celebrity, they're going to act like a celebrity. If you treat them like a person, they're going to act like a person. It's just one of those things. If you give them that ability to act a certain type of way, they're going to act that way. Right. But if you're straight up with them, like, I had guys that would ask me, they go, Jake, when I was in college, saying, dude, like, I've got a kid on the way. I can't raise a kid on a college player's salary. What do I do? I said, dude, like, I can't tell you what to do, but, at the end of the day, you'll know what to do. That player that I'm talking about ends up deciding to go to the draft, gets drafted in the 4th round. If he had stayed one more year, it would have been COVID. So everything happens for a reason. You got to kind of trust your gut on some things, and it's really tough. But God, trust God, trust Hashem, and really, you have to have blind faith sometimes. And really, especially once you have that vision, you see the vision, you see where you're going, and what you want to accomplish. You don't let anything stand in your way. And you say, I'm going to get there. I don't know how. It could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. You don't know what the journey is going to look like, but I'd rather run to it than run away from it.
Love it, man. I like how you tied in the Hashem part. You snuck that in there, very, very casually, tying it back in to what we were talking about at the beginning of this interview, man. But oh my God, Jake, we could have this interview till tomorrow morning. Man, this was awesome, man. And I think we got to run it back at some point.
For sure, I'm down. I'm down. You got my number? I'm good, whatever.
Exactly.
You tell me.
Exactly, brother. Well, before I actually let you go, where can people find you on social media? I want people to, let's eat, right? This idea of us eating together,
for sure.
It's one thing if I do this podcast and it's good for me, but people got to see your stuff for both of us to eat. So where can people find you on social media?
So I'm on TikTok. I'm not, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what my username is. That's not my main platform. Okay. On Instagram, it's my personal one is at Jake Teplitzky, one word. The business one, there's a couple different ones because we really didn't even get into all the stuff on the business. There's TMG _athletics, underscore TMG official _, and then those are the main ones. And then our website is teplitzkymg.com. But yeah, again, I thank you for reaching out. This has been amazing. And of course, I'm always down to run it back. Like you said, hey, let's eat.
Let's eat. All right, man. Well, this has been a phenomenal episode. Make sure we follow Jake, guys. I think, I don't even need to say anything. He's doing amazing work. He's fucking killing it, guys. If you want to see somebody that's young and actually has hustle and grit and actually works his butt off to get to places that he wants to be, go follow Jake. Listen, I am going to volunteer Jake for this, but pretty easy to reach out to him. I would imagine he if you guys had questions or anything, he would reach out to you too. So make sure you follow Jake and share this episode with somebody, guys. This guy's, you're not going to hear him on other podcasts talking about some of this shit. You guys share this episode so that I can continue to find, it's going to be hard to find another Jake, but I can continue to find people that are like Jake, that have hustle, that are proud of who they are as a Jew and have a strong personal brand. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure to follow Schmoozing Time on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Also, make sure to follow Schmoozing Time on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on. Until next time, keep schmoozing.